Country Management, and she was handling 11 HOAs, 11 HOAs, so this should be a little bit easier for her. She's been in the property management business since 2012, so.
Oh, we got to
Here
feedback.
we go again. In case you didn't hear me, you can listen to it on YouTube.
Yeah, here we go again, all right?
Anyhow, welcome, Joyce.
Well, no, I just.
We got it now?
Yes. That's
All
why I
right.
picture the case.
Proof of notice, the meeting has been duly noticed and advertised. Can we have a approval of the minutes from last, I think we have the budget workshop. And what else was there?
That's it.
Budget workshop.
I'll make a motion to approve the budget workshop meeting minutes as written.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. I'm going to jump around a little bit. We want to try and get this place mulched. Before, we used to have the mulch bids in the contract, and it was automatically done twice a year. Right now, we have to call and have it done. So we've got a bid from Newell to do the red mulch around the buildings and also the common areas for $4,705. So I'd like to get that, if we get that approved and get that started before the rest of the people start getting here.
I just have one question. On the fountain area, is that both fountain areas, do you know? The one over by Frank Ferrera and then the one back by...
I think that one's stone. I think they have stone in there. Because I know
Oh, around the, okay. all right.
when they replaced the trees,
They put stone in.
the bid had stone in there.
Okay.
If not, it's not a big ticket
Okay.
item if we have to add that afterwards.
Okay, I make a motion to accept the bid from Steve Newell for $4,705.
Second.
Anything on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. One other item was the Newell's contract. When he sent it out with it's on the backside. Sent it out with, it's another 3-year contract. I called him and he says, just change it to whatever we want. We can make it 1 year with the option to renew, which probably would be a good idea because I think that from last meeting, they were still looking at other bids. So if that's okay with the board, we'll approve this contract. It's 1 year with the option to renew. Anybody?
Make a motion.
I'll make a motion. Approved.
A
Second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we'll straighten this out when we're done. Okay. Document changes, modifications. We posted this out on the website, the letter from, in case I give you a little history if somebody doesn't remember, some of the new people. Our documents were really in kind of poor shape in here. The original documents were from back in 2000, I guess, and there were boilerplate documents that had amendment after amendment added to it, and amendments to the amendments. So if anybody really wanted to see what the document said, it was quite a chore. So when Laguna Creek came online, we made a decision that how we were going to structure it was with a sub-HOA. This HOA would be a master HOA responsible for the common area and all of this park. And Laguna Creek, because they have separate architectural standards and separate amenities, they would have a sub-HOA that would control that. So Dwayne and his partners agreed that they would redraft our documents, clean them all up to make them readable so you could follow along, and put in the section for Laguna Carib. We went through them. We've been going through them since March, back and forth with developer, our attorney, their attorney, and There was only one point of disagreement in the documents, and that was taking the board down to a 5-member board. But that's the way it's going to be right now. On the positive note, that once we approve these documents, the 4 votes for the developer for each lot goes away, and I know that's something that's been a sticking point in everybody's crawl since the Avi days. So that'll be gone. The documents will be cleaned up, to be readable, and we'll just proceed onward. Also, we had a summary of changes that Dwayne had written up to tell you, exactly what some of the major changes were in the documents. So it's like 36 pages long. There will be a vote to approve these documents on November 22nd. So you'll be getting something in the mail or email. As I said before, if anybody has not signed up for email notification and email voting, it really would behoove you to do it. That way, any notices, or if you're out of here and you get a violation notice, you'll get it in an email rather than chasing you around the country, because many times people are traveling, they don't get it, and before they know it, they miss even knowing what's going on. So we're going to have this, since this is one of the prime reasons, we're going to open the discussion up right now if anybody has any questions or comments on these documents. Yes? You're going to have to come up to the mic, because nobody can hear you outside the park, and
Right behind you.
Hi, just for the new people, my name is Gary Snyder, C110. I was on the board, vice president, under everybody just about, for 6 years. So they all know me, all the old timers on the board. I'm just kind of curious, why do we have to go to a 5-man board instead of a 7? What is the reasons for it?
You want me to take that, Pat?
yeah, you might as well.
With a sub-HOA, that's a different structure than we've ever had, obviously, in the resort until now. We've got, we're going to have 137 new members of the Master Association, and the intent was to have approximately proportional representation. The 137 members in Laguna Caribe constitute about 22.5% of the total membership of the Master Association. So we had proposed going to a 5-member board where one of them would be appointed by the Laguna Caribe Association. Initially, that's us as developer, but when we get to turnover in Laguna Caribe, it'll be the collective members will elect their own board representative. And in order to maintain approximately proportional representation, that says we really need a 5-member board. The other factor that plays into this is that most communities in Florida find it difficult to even get 5 people to participate in an HOA board. In fact, a lot of associations in the state have over the years gotten to the point where they couldn't even get 3 members to join. Now, we have a more active membership here in Cypress Woods than perhaps a lot of communities do, but nevertheless, 5 members, all of whom are heavily engaged and highly engaged, is plenty for an effective board to do what it has to do, and the proportional representation is the reason for the 5-member board.
I've been here for approximately 17 years. We've never had a problem, that great of a problem of filling it with a 7 board. Plus, you're a subcontractor for that. Why can't Laguna Caribe have your 5 members and we have our 7? It just doesn't make sense to me. It's a better board was 7 because we got more people to discuss the problems with and more people to do the work with.
Well, I guess we can agree to disagree, but we believe that it's necessary that we have one of the 5 on the board, because the board is where all the real day-to-day decisions are made. We only have membership elections every, 2 or 3 or 4 years. 99.9% of all the decisions that affect the actual members are done in the board. And so having proportional representation on the board, 1 of 5, granted, it's not a majority. I mean, obviously, if there was some sort of Laguna Caribe versus everybody else, Laguna Caribe would lose, but I don't really anticipate there would be conflicts between Laguna Caribe and the rest of the membership. It's really just a matter of having a proportional voice.
Well, can we have one person on your board from the Masters? You're coming on our board with the Masters.
That's not how sub-HOAs work in the state of Florida.
I don't agree with it, but okay.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Linda Matthew, and I'm on Lot B25. Just to kind of tag along with that, when it comes to a 5-member board, what constitutes your quorum? Because I didn't see anything. 2 members, 3 members?
3.
3. Okay, so 3 has to be voting or whatever, decision-making, okay. Then I have a couple other questions. When will I know you're going to be voting on November 22nd. Is that the effective date of these amendment changes?
The effective date is when it's recorded. Presumably, we'd have Mitch Haler recorded as soon as it's adopted, within whatever, a week or 2.
Okay, so it'll be effective this 2021.
Yeah, it would be effective. I would anticipate if there's an affirmative vote later this month, by early to mid-December at the latest, we'd have it recorded.
Okay.
I think Mitch said he'd record it like within a day or so, once it was done.
And where is it recorded?
Lee County.
In the
Recorded
county?
in the Lee County Courthouse.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay.
John Matthew, B25. The question was, you said that it would be 1 member from the Laguna Caribe. Is that all there'll be? So if, when we have elections, that there'll only be 1 person coming out of Laguna Caribe?
That's correct. The other 4 members would be elected, or directors would be elected by the members from sections A through D.
Okay, thank you.
I'm not sure that's accurate, Dwayne. I think the Laguna Caribe members would be able to vote on the members on the election.
Yes.
I think as members of the members of this association, they would have the same rights to vote. So everybody would be able to vote.
Right, everybody would be able to vote, yes.
Or
but
serve.
Only 1 member on the board can be from Laguna Caribe.
Exactly.
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying. Everybody gets to vote for the members.
Well,
No,
directly.
wait, let me,
Whoa, wait, yes.
let me back up, John.
Yeah,
If a member, an owner in Laguna Caribe, I got to stay by the microphone, if an owner in Laguna Caribe was to decide they wanted to run for the board, they would have the ability to run for the board also.
so that,
So they're going to be members, they'll have the same rights as everybody else in the park.
so that nullifies what he's talking about then.
Pardon?
He says there has to be 1 person, there'll be 1 person.
There'll be 1 person appointed automatically, regardless. But if somebody wanted to run, an owner in Laguna Caribe wanted to run, they would have the ability to run for the board.
Right.
The
so that-
Laguna Caribe sub-HOA appoints the 1 member, so, and that's by whatever mechanism the sub-HOA chooses.
So the 5 members of the board, only 1 of them can be from Laguna Caribe.
No.
Well, then,
All 5?
One would be appointed by Laguna Caribe.
John,
that doesn't-
John,
No, wait, let me talk.
go ahead.
So why do we even bother putting in there that, 1 member? I mean, it could be 5 members, so everybody from over there could be 5 members. It's kind of, doesn't make any sense.
It should be a
makes no
minimum.
sense.
Of 1. That's how it should be written, a minimum of 1. Not a max, a minimum.
Well, it doesn't say min or
Doesn't say
max
max.
either way. It just says one member will be appointed by the Laguna Carib sub-HOA.
But they all have the same rights.
Yeah, but Dwayne, the reason I'm saying that is because you've been saying, no, they have one. They could have all 5.
It would be extremely unlikely that that would be the case. You'd have to be elected by the other members.
Well, I totally disagree with that, because then it could be a Laguna Carib Park instead of a Cypress Woods Park.
How would you ever get that many people to vote for all those?
Laguna Carib, there's only going to be 137 lots over there, so how is that going to happen?
How do a lot
Unless
of-
nobody in
How do a lot of things
ABCD
happen
have
around
one.
here? There's a lot of things that happen around here that nobody even knows what happens around here. There's a lot of things going on here that nobody knows what's going on, and this is one of them. Thank you.
The documents as they are written are clear in stating that one member gets appointed by the Laguna Carib HOA. It's silent as to any sort of mins or maxes.
And as soon as we got those documents, they went out to everybody on email and on Facebook, along with the explanation. So if somebody doesn't know what's going on, they didn't look.
Okay, I'm Greg Ludwig, and I'm on A50. And I began reading these documents this morning, so I got about halfway through, okay? But this particular point, I did read, and it's early in the documents, where one person from Laguna Carib gets appointed, okay? And then I believe there's specific language in there about the vote for the remaining 4 board seats will come from lots A, B, C, and D, okay? My question is, and to tag on to what's already been asked, the fact that one member of Laguna Carib will be appointed to our board, does that preclude every other Laguna Carib owner from running for a board?
I don't believe that there would be any restriction from running for the board. They just have to win the election.
Okay? So the appointed person from Laguna Carib, supposedly your HOA there would have a vote and of your board members, and is it your intention that one of your board members would then be appointed to our board?
Well, we have a separate set of documents for Laguna Carib that we haven't released yet. They're very standard documents. I mean, there's nothing strange in them. The association can decide however it wants to do it to appoint its one representative to the master board. It could be by vote of the board. If the members want to change that to where they actually have all the individual members vote for that person, that'll be their concern. It won't be the concern of the master association.
Okay. And then to follow up on that, most developers, when they reach 90% of sold lots, they turn that over to the HOA owner management. Do you intend to do that same thing?
Well, that's the Florida state law. We don't really have a choice in the matter. The law requires that turnover take place at any time the developer decides to do it, but no later than after the point at which 90% of the lots are sold. So initially, we don't have any third-party owners yet. We won't until we complete construction and get certificate of occupancy. So right now, the 3 members of the board of Laguna Carib are me and my 2 partners, John Callis and Jim Hamilton. At some point, we'll probably, I think there is Chapter 720 of the Florida statutes dictates at some point you have to have at least one from the third party on a board. I don't recall exactly when that is, at what point, but, and then of course by turnover, they'd all be elected by the members.
Okay. It has been discussed among various owners here that you have divided into 2 phases, developing 80 or 85 lots on your first phase, and then moving to a second phase. Is that so?
Yeah, that's correct. Although it's perhaps not like what is typically done in phase developments, because it took us so long to get all the approvals and financing settled for construction, we had wanted to have at least a portion of our lots, completed and certified by the county for occupancy before the end of the season. If we had done all 137 lots, we probably would have missed the entire high season.
Okay.
So what we elected to do was to create 2 phases. As soon as the first phase is complete, we'll already be working on the second phase.
Okay. The last board meeting that I physically attended was in March, and you presented to this board and all the owners here that you would have one development of 137 lots. Your intention, as you expressed at that time, was to have, as I remember your words, have this available, ready for sale, ready to rent, ready to go by October. That's the date that stuck in my mind. Obviously, there's been delays. You've mentioned permitting and other things like that. But that is clearly a change from what was represented to ownership here. We thought that you were going to have all 137 done at one time, available for sale as one big block. The reason I'm bringing this up is because that could be a fairly significant delay factor, in that some of the language that was rewritten by yourself and your attorney and so forth has language that's clearly beneficial to the developer. And I get concerned because of previous relationships this HOA has had with developers, in that they've remained and remained and remained and had an effect in this whole development. So specifically, there's language that as long as the developer has one lot, that you retain that right to participate in everything. Not just with the board, but retain a significant influence in how the HOA is run, okay? Now, as you sell lots and your super voting shares diminish, and selling a lot can be, I don't want to say manipulated, but it could be accelerated or it could be slowed based on desire and business factors out there.
If I can stop you there, first of all,
Sure.
These documents, as they're written, immediately terminate our Class B member votes. That's effective the day this is recorded, so we would go from 4-to-1 voting rights to 1-to-1 voting rights on the day this is recorded. So that, I wanted to correct you on that.
Okay.
Second of all, again, the phasing is not to avoid doing turnover. We never expected we'd sell all 137 lots in the first month. I don't think that would be a reasonable expectation. We kind of presumed, kind of a range of time frames that probably range from a minimum of a year to maybe as much as 5 years. It all depends on the market. But in terms of finishing the lots, we are not delaying any lots. It's just that we couldn't get 137 certificated by the county before the end of the season if they all had to be done in one single tranche. So by doing the first 80 lots, and right now our targeted certificate date would be approximately January 31, we would expect to have phase 2 completed within 60 to 90 days thereafter.
Okay.
And be certificated. So it's not a significant delay.
In your opinion, how far along are you with what you expected to accomplish?
Well, like I said, right now, our current expectation is certification of phase 1 by approximately, you can't predict, to the nearest day, but approximately January 31. That's based on the construction progress that we've already made, as well as what we know we have left to do. And like I said, probably 60 to 90 days after that would be, phase 2 would be certificated.
Okay. Are you still planning on having a sales office and showing coming out of our Welcome Center?
Initially, yes. At some point, our main clubhouse probably won't be completed until, I'm going to take a wild guess and say around the end of the third quarter, sort of September, because that's the one that's most delayed by permit. We still don't have a permit yet for the clubhouse, and the county is excruciatingly slow on reviewing permits right now. But we would move our sales center into our own clubhouse whenever that opens. In the meantime, we'd like to continue, renting the office space here.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else on the documents?
Because we have live chat, I'm going to ask some questions being asked from residents that are watching. The first question is from Deb Davis. Question, will the current Board of Directors terms be reset or carry over with this amendment?
What was that?
Will the current Board of Directors terms be reset or carry over with this amendment?
They're just going
Amendment.
The amendment has nothing.
Once we know if they'll have another vote for all the directors, or will the current directors?
No, we'll just fall off.
The current directors will,
The current directors will stay on. We're right now at 6 with John leaving. At the end of the year, Joe will have completed his 2 terms, and by bylaws, he cannot run again, so we'll be at 5 at that point. Next year, I'll have completed my 3rd year. I will not be running again. So that will be open. Yes, you're absolutely right there. Good. So that will be open, and at that time, there'll be an election for a board member. And then they'll start to just follow a regular cycle.
If I can add that, what that does is retains the current staggering of the director terms so that they don't all come up at once.
And, okay, the next question is Deb Davis. It is my understanding and advised by Pat Zolo, transition date was 2023. Why has that date changed?
What?
It was my understanding and advised by Pat Zolo, transition date was 2023. Why has this date changed?
The transition date was by 2023. Also, in the agreement where we came up to 2023, there was a clause in there that if there was a resignation or a vacancy for any reason during the interim, that would not be filled. That went to our attorney and back and forth with the board, so that's nothing has changed. That's the way it is.
The next question is from Barbara Burge. The numbers are there as far as the proportionate numbers. Laguna is a smaller proportion in total numbers. What would change that proportion with 5 instead of 7?
Didn't he already answer that?
What would change the proportion?
The numbers are there as far as proportionate numbers. Laguna is smaller proportion in the total numbers. What would change the proportion with 5 instead of 7?
If I can answer that.
Yeah.
With 137 members, Laguna Cree represents 22.5% of the total master association, which is just slightly greater than 1 of 5. So up till now, the developer has only represented 1 of 7, which is 15 point something percent. So less than proportional.
Okay. The next question comes from Bill Woodward, D77. When does transition to 5-person board take effect, and what happens to current board members, including the vacancy? I think you've answered that, but...
transition takes place in 2023. The current board stays the same. At the end of this year, Joe goes off the board, so we're then at 5. In 2023, I go off the board, and there'll be an election. That's the way it is.
And final is Deb Davis. In follow-up to my term question, where is it written in the document as a transition need?
Where's it written in the documents, the transition date?
Need.
Need?
Need.
Need.
I think what she's asking is why did we come up with this method that we're using now for transition? When we were going back and forth with the board and the attorneys, we had actually proposed some explicit language on how to do the transition, and Mitch Haler, the attorney for the Master Association, responded that, you know, we'd rather not put that in the documents now because it's kind of a one-time only thing, and we can do it more informally just by saying it'll be up to the members to deal with it by 2023.
I believe that's all.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks, Diane. Okay. November 22nd will be the vote. Look it over. If you have any other questions, you can probably catch up with some board members and ask them. All right. I think we're done with this. Down to the budget. Before we get into the budget, I'd like to make a comment on the financial position of Cypress Woods. We are in, I think, the best financial position that we have ever been in, and since we took over in 2013. I know each year, you know, you get these little incremental increases and stuff, and they're a nuisance and things, but we're right now in a period where we can't even get a good estimate on what it's going to cost to do anything. We got some numbers from David before he left. He gave us most of the contract prices, so we knew what that was. The rest of the stuff, we kind of looked at what we've been spending to date, where we were as far as under budget, and factored that in, which was never really done before, so that we can keep the dues as low as possible. We know or expect that probably within next year, we're going to be getting some increased revenue from Laguna Carib. How much and when is a guesstimate, and we certainly can't budget a tight budget on and a guesstimate numbers. So there's no numbers factored in this budget for anything for Laguna Carib right now. But on a positive note, when that money does come in, there's a line item there, miscellaneous, that's where it's going to go. We should be able to do a couple of things. One, we should be able to fund the restoration of these roads without a special assessment, possibly by doing it in phases and taking out a line of credit and paying the line of credit right down out of the additional income. Because the income is not going to be offset by increased workload or expenses in Laguna Carib. The second thing is we'll be able to build up our reserve, and we started the reserve, what, Joe, how many years ago? I don't even remember.
Transition.
Huh?
We started it at
Yeah,
transition.
John was still on the board.
Yeah.
The reserve is holding on pretty well. We're able to do the things out of the reserve and replenish the funds in there. We can build up that reserve if necessary, but we've got a pretty good handle on a lot of things that had to be done, and we have some things still outstanding. The third thing is, and I don't know, this will be a future decision, we probably can start looking at rolling back some of these assessments. But irregardless, we're in a good position financially, and we'll be in a lot better position at the end of this coming year. This budget that we've put together, and we've banged these numbers around for a couple of months, represents a 2.55% increase in your quarterly dues. Now, historically, if you remember, back in, going back 3 years, in 2018, the dues went up $64. In 2019, it went up $28. In 2020, it went up $27. And I still can remember last year's budget, when we were going back and forth with the dues, a paper being waved around at how much other HOAs were paying for HOA fees and how lucky we were to have low fees, like justification for raising the dues was what others pay. That's not the way you do a budget. You don't take a target assessment and then back your expenses into it. You find your actual expenses or projected expenses, and then that should determine what the assessment should be. So we've had this budget out there. Increases in some of the expenses have gone up. They've gone up for everybody. I mean, we bid 3 projects this year, and before the project, after the contracts were let, before the contracts even started, we had 3 price increases on each one of them. It's almost impossible to predict, but I think with what we've got proposed here, we'll be in fine shape going through the end of this year. So I don't know if anybody else has any comments or questions on the budget, but that's all I got to say right now.
Pat, I think it is worth noting, however, that our assessments in the Master Association are quite modest compared to what a lot of other resorts in South Florida charge. You know, we spend a lot of time looking at what the total assessments are in other communities because we need to set an assessment for our Laguna Caribe sub-HOA. So we wanted to make sure that the total of the master plus the sub wouldn't, you know, sort of stick us in too high a category. But frankly, our studies have shown that most of the resorts in South Florida charge significantly more. And in many cases, not only do they charge more, but they include less. One of them I can think of specifically was Golden Palms, which is located right here in Lee County off of State Road 80. They charge, I believe it's $9.05 a quarter, and that does not include water and sewer, and it does not include bulk cable. So, you know, add another $150 a month to that, you know, and that's where you're at. So we're actually in pretty good shape.
Any other questions?
So the bottom line right now is your assessment's going to go up $5 a month to $792, 2.55% increase. And the budget is balanced. Any questions or comments? No doubt.
Gonna make a motion.
So I move that we adopt this budget.
Wait, she got comments.
Oh, there you go.
Michael McMahon, he wanted me to read this. Continue building reserves, don't roll anything back.
Can you step back a little bit? Either it's like echoing or something.
That's my sinuses.
Say that again.
I got one.
And those are
Mike-
attached.
Quite solid.
Get rid of those.
I'm sorry, Diane.
That's okay. Michael McMahon said, continue building reserves, don't roll anything back. That was his comment. And then Deb Davis said, I submitted my 30 questions to the board yesterday. Please ask them to respectfully respond to these. And that's all I have.
30?
30 questions.
30 questions.
The 30 questions, I mean, it was more cut this, cut that, the budget's not balanced. If she wants to sit down, go with one by one, I'll be happy to. The budget's there, they are the numbers. Yes?
No. No.
I'm not going to go through 30 questions
No.
that just say, cut this, cut that, we don't need that.
You don't want to answer them, that's why.
No, that's not true. Half of her information is banking on income from lots that are going to be rented in Laguna Caribe. She wants us to put in $69,500 in revenue from Laguna Caribe in next year, and we don't know what that is. So if we have a shortfall, where's the money going to come from, guys?
Okay. All right, I'm talking now. What are the 22 projects with cost? The 22 projects are still on the list from last year. Which ones we do this year, I really don't know. It's allocated out of reserves or operating expense. It's already identified in the project list as to what category they would come from.
Right.
If the developer has over 90 lots that have a deposit received, why can't we plan some quarterly maintenance income as well as the fourth quarter to offset any proposed 2022 quarterly dues increase?
Can I answer
What
that?
amount to your budget?
Can I answer
Go ahead,
that?
Dwayne.
Anybody that's ever been in the real estate product business understands that people saying, I want to buy a lot, or I want to buy a house, and then actually showing up at a closing and signing and writing a check, those are two different things. So I don't think it would be wise for any of us to assume anything in particular revenue from Laguna Caribe. I mean, it'll be whatever it is, and I do think we're going to sell a lot of lots, but I just don't know how many are going to show up at the closings by, a given date.
I'm going to finish answering these questions, Gary. What will the revenue be on Laguna Caribe rented lots? What document guarantees the developer will pay the HOA for rented lots and new docks? Well, first of all, if you read the document, you'll see it says in there they will pay their share. As far as what revenue will be generated, have no idea, and I'm not going to put a number in there. August 24th year-to-date shows only $70 income. 22 budget shows $27,627 income on key cards, no revenue planned. What's the discrepancy? It was a typo. There's zero budgeted. There's nothing in the budget for 2022 for those cards. It was an Excel spreadsheet had calculated the wrong cell. But there's nothing in the budget for that. Key fob income, $60. Is this incorrect? Invoice posting to a GL account? Yes, it was. We don't sell key fobs. August 21st year-to-date shows a revenue of $12,088. 22 budget shows $16,179 projected. Miscellaneous income, where did it come from? $10,000 was for trees that we got reimbursed for in D section. That's where the majority of that, and where the other $6,000 came from, I have no idea. That would be, have to go back and look at the accounting records at First Services. This year we only have 500 planned. Well, we don't expect the trees to die and get any more. Miscellaneous revenue of $539. What is the description? What is the description of this GL code? It was added last year. I asked last year what this description was and never got an answer. $40,095 in revenue. The 2020 budget planned $50,000 net gain. It was $34,000 actually. That's correct. Plan 22 surplus dates 123.5, but a great portion of that is committed to roads and Welcome Center pool renovation. Should that be adjusted, or are you accounting for this in your 22 planned expenses? Yes, I've calculated the numbers out of that projected extra income that's coming out of the reserves. 4115-02, what is the actual revenue of the demand letters for 2018 to 2020 to establish a trend of revenue instead of $0 a month? I have no idea. It's been historically, that's been added in the budget, and that's a projected income. Was that way for the last 3 years. 41005, duplicate line item. has to do with the storage. This is based on 48 spaces at $750. That's a loss of $1,500 in income. What's the status of the demo, repurposing, the associated cost of the old maintenance area so we can vacate the container? The old maintenance area is costing us revenue, rental, and electric costs. The electric cost for the old maintenance area is roughly $1,000 a year. To develop a new maintenance area, we're looking at a couple $100,000 or about close to $200,000 if we can find a spot, which when we tried to find one, most of the people objected to it. We've got a storage container back there. We're losing $750 in revenue that we would have got from renting that storage container out, but we're saving over $100,000 by not building a place to store the same stuff we're storing in a $750 storage container. 41010, delete the GL code. We don't delete GL codes. First Services does that. Expenses, admin, 545.00, borrower is gone. LC is consuming cost of doc rewrite. Can't we cut by 7,500? We still have legal fees that come in. We're in the middle of looking at taking over that lot in D. We also don't know what kind of legal fees we can expect going forward with Laguna Carib, if any. So no, it would not be wise. We did cut that pretty far back. 500,064, miscellaneous administration. What does the planned $5,000 expense represent? This number I got from David. This is one of the numbers that he gave us. It's just miscellaneous administration, which pretty much runs true. 50125 has to do with our insurance carrier. Who is the service carrier? Same service carrier we had last year. 18% increase. Yes, that's what they quoted us. If you haven't noticed, insurance rates in Florida are going up. Utility. This expense could be eliminated if we move forward with the old maintenance building demo. That's $1,000. 54070. This is too aggressive of an unknown expense. Water and sewer increases due to LC occupancy, then our revenue should also increase due to sold lots and rented. That's correct, it will be. They will reimburse us for water and sewer, and our revenues will increase as lots are sold. Again, you can't budget for it, you can't plug a number and you don't know what it is. We budget for 5 employees to enroll in the insurance, but only 1 or 2 actually use this benefit. Always a cushion for this expense, and I support that. Well, thank you. 60090, is Newell's contract signed and firm yet? Yes. Salary, 6500 salaries, new GM and assistant GM salary increases. Staff, possible eval increases? I don't know what the question is. Naturally people get increases. We have a different manager now, and there's different salaries, and the salaries are not discussed publicly. Repairs and maintenance, need explanation of what validates a $10,000 increase.
It's only a $4,000 increase.
I know, it's only 4,000, but, we've got to throw numbers out there. If you went out and bought gas, it's going up 44%. Stuff is going up all over the place. So repairs and maintenance, labor and stuff has gone up. Materials gone up. Do you expect it to sit at the same level? I don't think so. 70065, why no expenses planned? Because it's a negligible expense. What's 70065?
It's a vehicle truck trailer.
Yeah, vehicle truck trailer, it's really nothing. We don't really have, the only vehicle we have is a Kubota. Need explanation of a $5,000 increase. That's a sewer pumping station. The pumps are getting older. We replaced one last year. We're going to have an increased flow with Laguna Carib starting to come online. So with pumps that we used to pay about $6,000 for are now costing us $12,000. So thought it would be prudent that if a pump went down that we had the money to replace it rather than just say, geez, we don't have any money to replace the pump. 70096, 70097, total expenses last year, 5,500 projected. Why are we planning 23 combined? Is this to reflect the Welcome Center pool rental cost being paid in 2022? No. The improvements, this is other improvements to the Welcome Center pool that were on the project list, like new trees, refurbishing some of the stuff, all stuff that was left over from last year. 16,000 planned, actual contract is 26,304 is the balance coming from the reserve. That is the road repairs. We budgeted 16,000. We ended up paying 26,000 because that's what the prices came in at. No, it won't be coming from the reserve. It's going to be a budget item that runs over budget. And it's been factored into what I projected as having reserve income, or residual income. Let's see. 70139. Last year we planned 20,000 on special projects. We only used 5844. What is scheduled in earmark? Special projects, from the time it's been put in there, is just what it says. Things come up during the year that we're not planned for, not budgeted, and it comes out of special projects. I suspect special projects this year might, if it gets approved, be, they want shade sales down at the pool down at the Welcome Center. That could be in the special projects.
And we got that window, we got that problem over there.
And this window's got to be probably restuccoed and taken out and replaced. That's the kind of things that were in special projects. 702990060, combined proposed expenses are 65,000. Correct invoice coding to appropriate GL codes is critical to prevent sloppy bookkeeping. What is the criteria to change general R&M versus building R&M? That's something I argued before. They lumped Tina was here, she put everything into general repairs and maintenance rather than individual line items, which is not a good way to budget. But that was something we should go back to. But right now, it's the way we have to use the format that we have to make a budget. 74,004,05, 74,005,00. Last year, 35,000 was planned and only 97 actually used. We need a 2022 project list to identify projects, estimated cost, and completion of the project in an operating expense or reserve expenditure. Do we have one? Yes, it's the old list that we're still working off of. I hope that answers your questions. Pat?
I want to thank you very much for answering those questions. I'm sure Ms. Davis is happy that you answered. I asked you to do that.
I'm sorry, John, did you hear?
I said thank you very much for answering those questions.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
for answering.
I appreciate it. I'm sure
Pat.
Ms. Davis appreciates it also.
A lot of them, Pat. I've got something I'd like to say.
All right. Go ahead, Gary.
I've been in this community for 21 years, and this is the first time I've ever seen a 3-page questionnaire hit the board the day before the budget's supposed to be accepted. Now, I don't know what the reasoning for this is, because Ms. Davis knows most of the answers to these questions, and yet she's putting this up in front of this board like we don't know what we're doing. I really don't appreciate it one bit.
Gary Snyder, C110. I just want to make a comment. I have worked on budgets for the Cypress Woods for many years, 6 years exactly, and with the information they had, first of all, it's very difficult, and they don't know the unknowns. They did a tremendous job, and I'd like to give them a hand for that.
I don't appreciate your remark either,
Well, that's too bad.
his remark. I didn't ask you either. I just,
Tell Davis to get lost.
wow. Come on now. Apparently, she asked these questions, and we had no, on your budget workshops, you did not explain word line by line by line by line. I've attended some of these, and I didn't hear explanations. So I'm just, I'm just asking for her, not for me. I asked for her.
All right.
So, that's the, but I
Answer
don't, if you explain line by line, I know we've always gone over these budgets. When David was here, he would explain each line. You just want to accept the budget and leave. That's the way I saw it today. So when she asked these questions, I don't know, maybe I don't agree with each question that she had, but, I'm just trying to do, so, hey, if you don't like Ms. Davis, that's fine.
I didn't say accept the budget and leave. I sent it out in plenty of time for people to look at it if they had a question.
And she sent you questions.
Yeah. You know what, John, you know as well as I do, it was loaded questions. She waited till the day before to send
And you
it
answered
out.
them. And you answered them, so.
And I answered them, so you should be satisfied. I'm satisfied.
I'm satisfied.
Thank you very much.
But I don't thank him.
Yeah, well, he has the right to speak too, you know.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Here she comes, Diane.
I'm not doing this again. I have a suggestion that when we have live chats for budget, or for HOA meetings, let's have an assigned monitor for the live chats. Because I don't like doing this.
You quit, huh?
Okay? I'm the fun director. Okay, we've got comments coming in. And I do have to backtrack one segment because the meeting is delayed on YouTube. And so sometimes questions come in and we have moved on. A Margaret McMahon wanted me to say, I strongly disagree sections E should, sections A, B, C, D board members give section E members more political power when sections A, B, C, D cannot vote for section E seat. Section E should not vote, sorry, typo. I'm just,
Okay.
okay. And then a final comment, I've got some more stuff here, is Deb Davis made a comment that my final comment is Pat skipped over my complete questions and distorted my purpose of asking for clarification. The owners and I deserve respect, honest, and complete responses. And then Deb Davis wrote, the budget was not in my hands until Monday. And Bill Woodward has a question for general comment section. What is the status of the tennis court light repair? That is it.
Tennis court light, I think Young was in, didn't Young come in last week?
Did it come in?
The tennis court lights.
I'm just waiting on a quote from them.
They came in last week, right?
Okay. Yeah, because I did call them because they didn't come the day that they were supposed to. So now I'm just waiting on them to get back to me with a price.
Okay, because they came in last week, so they're waiting for the quote.
Okay.
Okay, so as it stands,
I'd like to make a motion to accept the budget with a quarterly fee of $792 per lot.
Second.
all in favor? Aye. Opposed? I'd like to make a personal comment. This is absolutely personal, not coming from the board. Sitting on this board are three members with over 27 years' experience. Most of it is president and vice president. In the last 3-4 days, we've been barraged with emails that makes you wonder whether we could even find a town center, and that this place is going to go to hell in a handbasket if we don't make an appointment to the board. Well, Joyce has assured me that Cypress Woods will not revert back to a swamp by leaving the board the way it is. So I just want you to all to relax now. Thank you.
I have one comment, not on that. We currently have a contract with pool troopers. So the contract is for both pools, and the Welcome Center is down. There's nothing to do there. Can we get a credit? would you contact them and see if we can get a credit for the length of time that the pool's been down?
I'll talk to them.
Okay, thanks.
Motion to adjourn?
Does anybody have any comments from the public on something we didn't discuss?
Hi. This is from Barb Burge. My question is, who actually wrote the new proposed document changes? Did someone familiar with Cypress Woods history from the board help to write these? In terms of our community, can understand, is this a complete change of our covenants? We are used to seeing original verbiage stricken and new underlined. Who on the board has gone through article by article to be sure of something important hasn't been left out?
The document changes were really not document changes. They were just, for the most part, consolidating and putting our original documents in order so that they're more readable. The changes that were made to the documents was the insertion of the section for Laguna Carib establishing their sub-association and the relationship between the master association and the sub-association. The major change, as I said in the beginning, was the fact that affects us was the board going from 7 to 5. The fact that the sub-association has one representative on the board, that's pretty standard. So that is, and we were involved with, all along, we were involved with the document changes.
If I can also address that too, Pat, this started out, we as the developer offered to do an amendment and restatement of the documents just to clean them up. We thought, well, since we're going to be making some changes anyway to reflect Laguna Carib, why don't we fix something that, I don't know, ever since my first meeting here, I've heard people complain about the documents being difficult to read and understand. So we volunteered to do it at our cost solely. So we paid 100% of the legal fees, which wasn't cheap. We're talking tens of thousands of dollars. To have our attorney go through all those documents and sort of connect all the dots and follow all the breadcrumbs so that you could actually read it and understand what's in it. From that point, it went to the board. The entire board was provided a draft copy, as Pat said. I think it was June, I believe, was when the first draft came out. And Pat and all the board members reviewed it. There were some discussions back and forth on various concepts. The last step was when Mitch Haler, the attorney for the Master Association, also reviewed those documents, and he had some back and forth discussions with our attorney, Molly Maggiano, and they ironed out, any differences of interpretation during that process. And so that's where we are. I mean, it was the product of many people working very hard for probably 6 months.
Okay. Bill Woodward would like to know, is the quote for repair or replace with better lights?
It'll be LEDs.
Bill Woodward says, thank the board for their efforts.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Jerry Miller, Lot B89. I heard through the grapevine there's an issue with my landscaping. Nobody's contacted me. I know nothing about this. I heard it from somebody in the park. Can somebody please tell me what's going on?
Well, does anybody know?
His lot is.
It was discussed in length.
Yeah, his lot is
last
flooding.
week.
Oh.
His lot is flooding Leffler's and Horace's.
Okay.
Yeah, there was last meeting that come up about the water runoff and stuff and the drainage. It's apparently really a big problem back in there. What I've asked Brittany to get Yates out here so we can take a look at reestablishing a swale, see as much water from the back of those lots out to Cypress Woods Drive, where behind Gary Schreiner's house, there originally was supposed to be like a detention basin, and there's an inlet there.
Right.
But over the years, it is silted up, so it's not flowing that way. I mean, there was a trench cut right there, which we did while I was still home in the rainy season. That was the best he could do, was just to get the water moving. What I noticed the other day, when I come back in the park after a heavy rain, the water's just laying in that trench. It can't flow anywhere, it just lays in the trench. So we're going to, step one is going to try and see if we can establish a good enough swale, get the water moving into that detention area. And if that doesn't work, then we're going to have to see what else we can do to correct that problem, because right now it's, I mean, I think it's Diane's lot and a couple other, I mean,
Kathy Orris's and-
yeah, they sent me pictures.
they're flooding the
It was really pretty
Yeah.
bad.
So this is nothing new.
Pardon?
That's nothing new. I've been there for 7 years. I know what's back there. Nobody else, they've been there 3 years or a couple years.
I know.
What I did, I improved that lot. For my one neighbor, I spent $1,000 on drain tile to get rid of water runoff. I put a drain tile in underneath my pavers. I put a French drain in between me and the lot behind me. I did my due diligence. There is no flooding caused to anybody's property any different than was before, period.
Okay.
I improved it. And I can prove it to you beyond a shadow of a doubt. So if you have any questions, come see me.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
I know, be nice.
be nice.
I've been with the county on his piece of property, and the county man come out there, and what, Jerry, you've done, you filled in the swale that's behind you. There's 5 lots. I was here through the rainy season. There's 5 lots that were underwater because of what you did in the swale. You filled it up, starting with Diane, Frank and Kathy, the one next to you, on the roads behind you. That was all done.
Take a look at those pictures. Tell me what you see.
Water.
Let me see what is that?
That's behind
Oh, that's,
behind your place, isn't it?
yeah, that looks like my place. This is my place.
Okay. What do you all see?
What, see a lot of flooding?
Flooding, thank you. You just answered your own question. Flooding. You are living on Class C soil on a flat ground, and you expect this is my fault? It's called flooding, it's an act of God, and there isn't anything anybody can do about it. I don't care how much drainage you put in. You can come up with whatever words you want. It's flooding.
It's not my words, Jerry, it's the county, it's water management. He come out there and looked, and he's putting together a package right now for you to take that out. That's what the law says. You backed up water on lots.
All right,
Hey, I'm talking, Jerry.
Easy now, easy, easy.
I don't like somebody giving me that bull.
Just, take it easy.
Kathy Orris, she was told after that last hard rain, when the water quit going over your gravel to your 4-inch pipe, timed how long it took to drain the water from the side of your lot towards Kathy's and those lots behind on the next road. 2 hours and 15 minutes for that little pipe to drain that water. That water,
Jack.
during Irma,
Jack? All right.
We're gonna have to,
Yeah, we're going to take a look at the situation. When I found out for the county that all the swales are behind the lots, any swales, the stuff between the lots are utility easements. Let's just, everybody take a deep breath, back up, and we'll see if we can work this out. I understand what you're saying. It's flat, it's wet, we had historic rains here last year, but I think we can get some of this problem corrected. But let's just keep a cool head and see what moving forward, not getting into an argument about it, all right?
That's all right with me. I'm not the one getting in the water.
All right.
It's the five lots that were impacted by his landscaping. Your landscaping looks fine.
Jack, point taken. Yeah.
That has always been that way. In last 3 days of August 2016, I got here, had 16 inches of rain. Horizontally, to reach my shed, was 2 inches away with the water that was standing back there.
Point of order.
Okay?
This isn't on the agenda.
I knew from that day that any more than 16 inches of rain, I would end up with water in my shed.
Okay.
So that was my basis of knowing how much rainfall to keep an eye on before I have to come down here.
Well,
I did not impact anybody any different than what's been there before.
well,
Okay, thank you, Jack.
Thanks.
all right.
Done with this?
Okay. Did you want to, something, Eric?
I was just going to make a point of order that this was not part of the agenda and should be taken offline to address.
Well, I think we've got that taken care of for right now.
Timing is great.
Okay, does anybody else have any comments? If not, can we have a motion to adjourn?
I have one.
Go ahead, Joe.
It's with great regret, and I apologize to the owners, but it's with great regret that I say this, I apologize to the owners, but I can no longer work with this board, and I am stepping off. Thank you.
You're welcome, Joe.
I make a motion to dismiss this meeting.
We're down to 5.
All in favor? Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for coming out.